All right, everybody, welcome to 2022 Hoopatheticals. It's been long awaited. The fans have been chewing at the bit for us to come back and have another conversation. So today, I'm lucky enough to welcome back Mr. Thom Nixon, who is wearing a Bucks jersey for those that will be able to watch this at some point. So Thom Nixon, what's up?
Thanks for having me, mate. I mean, I can't tell you just the amount of communications I've got, emails, text messages, smoke signals. I've had doves come to my room at night saying, when's the next Hypotheticals on? So just stoked to be back, mate.
So we are recording this straight after the Warriors Bucks game. That was sort of a big game at this time. I think I'll probably release this today. So if you watch that game, this is kind of be a bit of a companion podcast. I didn't watch it because I was walking, but Thom Nixon, you've been watching all the Bucks games this season. How did this game go? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, it went really good, actually, obviously by the score. But yeah, I think it was important because the Bucks just came off a couple of losses to the Hornets, and it was a bit, some questions, whatever, like they're playing okay, but then just to come in and smoke the Warriors, who obviously had an insane season. Clay's back, Steph, been shooting great, more or less. It was just really good to watch, and I'm always a fan of Bobby Portis just like lighting things up. So it was sick.
Yeah, I have to say from the brief bit that I watched, Coach Bud was looking a bit ragged. There was like one shot of him and his hair was kind of everywhere. It looks like he's not quite done with health and safety protocols.
I know, he just came back out and he looks haggard as he always just looks a bit disheveled. I don't know if I would want to see some shots of him over the last few years because it looks like he just gets more and more tired and stressed, like the bags under his eyes. This poor dude must have blood pressure through the roof. But hey, gets the job done. Who cares?
Yeah, I like that. He also feels like a little bit more like each season he's also getting a little bit more casual as well. Like the attire's kind of gone to like he's ready to go out afterwards or something, or just hang with the boys.
I don't know if you've seen, but there's been some segments where they look at his kicks, and he's had like, I think a few games ago, he showed up with like some fresh white kicks, and mate, talking town, Coach Bud flexing on the bench there.
So Thom, outside of Coach Bud, how are you feeling about the Bucks season so far this year? Coming off the championship, obviously.
Yeah, pretty good, actually. I think a lot of people kind of just went, oh, they won a championship, that'll be that. But I feel like the Bucks have had a very similar season to last season. We're kind of hovering on that, like that number 3, number 4 in the East. Like playing good, losing some games we shouldn't, but like beating like important games, like they're referencing the Nets from a few days ago. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident, to be honest. I actually would like to see like a Nets Bucks first round. That would be in the playoffs. I just think that would be a great heat check. And yeah, I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to come through with a deep run again. I'm fully expecting at least a conference finals appearance before the finals. Yeah. I think that they should be in that conference game.
Yeah, totally. And I think like I'm really optimistic that we'll make the finals again this year. I'm feeling like pretty confident. I'm also feeling pretty confident we can win it if we get there,
Yeah.
So it's a good year to be a Bucks supporter. Again.
Also, I mean, the other thing we discussed it the other day, but this game really demonstrated it. Like, I don't know many teams that have an answer for Giannis in the paint. And just what people who watch this game would have noticed is that he's just schooling everyone just with height and strength, and like just the height overall of the Bucks. And when Brook Lopez comes back, I mean, that's just a wrap. So yeah, I'm just interested to see like what teams are going to throw at the Bucks, because like the wall is so outdated, and like the amount of times that he gets double team and he just throws it to any 3-point shooter and it's a bucket. It's just yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I actually don't know. I'm actually interested to see what people are going to do.
Me too. Yeah. I'm so excited. Well, let's I thought today we can probably talk about the league sort of across the board, but I thought a good way to do that is to talk about our like starting 5 for most overwhelming and underwhelming. So we can kind of look at the league through that way, and then we can sort of discuss it from there. So how about we start here? We've both done a starting 5 for both, though I know yours might be a little improvised towards the end of one of them, but regardless, I think let's start with who's your first most overwhelming player of like starting 5, number 1 pick. Who are you taking?
This is hardly a hot take, but I'm gonna have to go with Ja Morant.
It was also my first pick.
Yeah, I think everyone thought he was like, it's Ja Morant. Everyone knew he was going to be good, but I feel like he's just exceeded those expectations somehow. And even the fact that his team has been so good as well, like it's not even a one-man show, which show, like he's leading so well, really. They had a really good win-loss percentage when he was out, in the first, I think it was like quarter of the season, there was a few weeks he was out, or maybe like 10 games or something. And they were still winning. And just in the last few games, especially, they're on like a 10-game win streak at the moment. Yeah, none of this is news, but like he's just insane. That block he had against the Lakers, ridiculous. And he's just like climbs the ladder like every game. And yeah, I just get like big, I said this to you the other day, like D Rose MVP vibes. And yeah, he looks awesome. I think he's great.
Yeah, I think he currently has the like 5th best odds for MVP this year.
Yeah.
And good on him. I think he's 22.
Deservedly so. Yeah. I also think, just a quick aside from Ja Morant, I have been surprised at how many people are in the MVP conversation. Like it's not just one. I felt like it was Steph Curry a bit at the start of the season, but because he's cooled off a little bit, people are still talking about the Joker, Ja Morant, DeMar DeRozan, Giannis, and it's like there's Joel Embiid, all these names, and it's like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of unique to this season.
It's good, and I also think it's representative of the season. I feel like any team can win any game this season. Like there's a lot of like this,
upsets.
Yeah, and the skill is spread really nicely across the league at the moment.
So many not injuries, like health and safety stuff. And so it just means they keep signing all these people. And I think it's really like democratized the league.
Yeah, and it's also because of the rule changes this year, defense is worth more,
Yeah.
So teams kind of like the Cavs and stuff have been raised up by that fact alone,
Mate, I mean, I'm happy to pivot on to my second good surprise
on
that.
Wait, let me go next. All right, so we both picked Ja.
Sure.
Great. Also, I did have. Actually, okay. So I've been working on these creativity stats, but I did a little look at Ja. Okay, how does his creativity sort of compare? And one thing that I noticed when I was like looking at the sort of doing the stats for him is that he is the most open shooter when he's actually shooting, like in the NBA, because he's flying past people and there's literally no one between him and the basket. So he's like. His shots are like, just because he's so good at manipulating stuff in the air, when he's in the air, he's actually creating so much separation that he's wide open. It's beautiful stuff.
That's wild. How is he only like 20 or something
he's 22 or something.
22. Okay. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, great stuff. And you love to watch it.
You do. Yeah. I mean, it's also good to see. I feel like the Grizzlies, even though they've been winning so much, they still always seem like the underdog. Like they've got such grit about them. And I think that like, they're entertaining to watch. You want them to win. And so, yeah, they're going to be awesome in the playoffs. I really want them to just have a really deep run for their sake and just for great TV.
Yeah. And I also just quickly with them, I love that Ja doesn't have the ball on every possession. Like some possessions, he just runs down to the corner. And it's just kind of like they just like run other stuff. And then he like might dive in for a dunk, or he might just hang out there and just let stuff happen.
I mean, I love the Grizzlies so much that I actually have another one on my good surprise list. I've got another person from that team, but we can save that for one if you would like. I've been well impressed by the Memphis Grizzlies.
All right. Well, my next one that I wanted to have is someone that's been asked to take a bigger role this season for the Bucks, but has stepped into that very well, especially at halftime or just before halftime today. Bobby Portis.
We share the same person once again. Please tell me.
I'll tell you what. Like he's been asked to go from our 6th man to our starting center. Yeah, and he's basically been asked to just essentially fill in for Brook. Yeah. What he's done is above and beyond that. Because he, at any game, it feels like he can turn on 20 points if he wants to, especially if they're going to have a smaller team. It's definitely, he knows it's time for him to go in and dominate, and he does. Yeah. And his 3-point percentage is really solid, and it feels like it when you're watching him. Like anytime he's open, I'm like, that's always a good shot.
I think the thing I love about him the most is his mentality. Like he has so much hustle about him. And like, even when And again, this Golden State game, I think there was one stage where up by like 35 or 40 and he fumbled it. And he was so cut at himself. He was so disappointed. And you can tell. And it's like, wow, this guy just it does not quit. And he's got that real working, like just that average Joe quality about himself. Like he doesn't seem up himself at all. There's no like self-inflated swagger. And I think, it just makes you love him even more, like just outside of the fact that he's great, like for the team and fits into the role. I can only sing praises for BP.
Yeah, agreed. All right, tell me, who's your next person?
I had, we already half mentioned it, but I had Jarrett Allen from the Cavs.
Another one we shared.
Oh, okay, that's the show. Anyone who think this has been organized. I mean, there's not much to say about him that hasn't already been said, much like the other dudes we've said. But I just I feel like Steve Nash and the whole Nets organization should be absolutely kicking themselves for letting that man go. And the thing was, it's not even, I said this the other day, it's not even like he's just gotten good. Like, it's not even like, he's on a bad team or he came to a not great team and, his stats got padded out. He's just great. And he's just like worked in their system really well. And I'm 0% surprised at the Cavs being like a little thorn in the side of the East that they've demonstrated. He's a monster and he has a sick throw, which just makes things even better as far as I'm concerned.
You can go back to listen to Tom's thoughts on Kobe White when he had the throw back in the day. Another
great. I watched the Bulls game yesterday and they lost because Kobe got a haircut, and that is an actual hot take. I love Kobe White, but I don't love his new haircut. He needs to grow that boy back out.
Yeah,
so
that was epic. Yeah, I had Jarrett Allen as well. You and I, we both loved him even when he was like blocking LeBron back when he was on the Nets and stuff. Like when they had like no one and he was just giving the occasional Nets highlight. It was great stuff. So
it was good stuff. Yeah.
And it's great to see him like on a team where they're like, let's just use this guy to the best of his abilities, and
they're winning as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think. I think I don't think they'll even be in a play-in. I think they'll genuinely be in the playoffs, and they could make it to the second round. I wouldn't be surprised. I could see them topping like the 76ers or something like that, or even like the Heat on a bad day.
They remind me a lot of like the Grizzlies of the East.
Yeah.
Like they're just like this like team that's surprising, but it's because everything's so solid with it. Like they're just deep. Everyone is like a C+ player. All right, let's go.
I was just going to say, and no, it doesn't seem like there's big egos on that team either. Like they've got that small market. I mean, I think I just love small market teams, to be honest, because it's so much of the NBA is like shining stars and, that kind of, that show off prowess. But I just love that kind of, they got that blue collar vibe and it's entertaining.
All right, let's jump along to the next one here. I wonder if we've got all the same players.
I don't think so. I've got a little, well, I've already hinted at my, curveball, but I've got another one in there for you too.
All right. So my next one. So we've both had Bobby and Jarrett Allen.
Yeah.
My next one is DeMar DeRozan.
Oh no, I didn't have him. Okay. No, I tried to put a few different things in there. I did think about him though. I mean, again, not a hot take, but an obvious. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I haven't watched too much of their stuff, but yesterday I saw how they played, and I was like, I love how he's playing on this team because he's passing the ball like when he's not, when he doesn't have the shot, and everyone's moving around on that team. It's lovely to watch.
I think the thing that's funny about DeMar DeRozan is like coming into this season, a lot of people thought like, oh, that's a good trade to Chicago, but I think it was like, I don't know. It was like the GM consensus that was like the worst off-season trade. And like, I mean, could not have been more wrong. I mean, they are first in the East. I mean, they don't really have much like playoff experience between them, but I mean, he's been carving it up. They all have, to be honest.
Yeah. What about you, mate? Who's your next person?
I couldn't resist because he's a fellow countryman of ours, and he's just been playing so good. But I had Josh Giddey from OKC.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just think like because he's so young and he's playing so well. I get that he's playing on a really bad team. I get that, but he's been playing against good teams and he's been putting up numbers. And I just think like the man has got a future in the NBA if he wants it. And in my mind and in my heart, he has replaced Australian basketball, or replaced the hole that was left by Ben Simmons. And he's a worthy man to do it. I mean, obviously, Patty Mills really holding down the fort, just being incredible. I do miss the swagger that our good friend, what's his freaking name? He was on the cat. He only just came back to Australia. Delhi Vadova. Yeah, I miss him a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I just really like Josh Giddey. I think he's playing really well, and I think he'll do really well in that team, like as they're rebuilding, however long that takes. And I think he might be able to like sneak himself into a better team with a trade or two, like in his second or third year. So
he reminds me a little bit of Lonzo, like just kind of like like pass first, kind of herky jerky, but like you want him on your team, can get a triple double with that kind of energy,
And I just feel like the sky's the limit with him because he's so young and he's got such good like passing IQ. I feel like he can really turn into like an insane like off the bench point guard sort of thing. So yeah, that's what I had.
Love it. Well, I'm also going to go with an Aussie, and you mentioned him, Patty Mills. Mills. What a good season. The Nets, while they are coming second, there's not a lot to look forward to with them. A lot of like James Harden's a lot worse. Kyrie's barely playing. Blake Griffin's washed up. All this, like, there's a lot of chaos going on over there, but one thing that's not chaotic is Patty Mills, who has just been like the only person that's reliable on that team other than KD.
I don't know if you saw in that Bulls game, but the man was lights out from the corner. I mean, he just has the smoothest stroke, and he's just a great dude. Australian of the Year, mate.
So who's your last person there?
A little bit of a like, not an obvious choice by any stretch of the imagination, but I've watched a little bit of Memphis, not heaps, and I have really come to love Jarrett Jackson Jr.
Okay.
He's a center. Yeah. He's just so quality. He just really holds down the fort. Has a sneakily good 3-point shot on him as well, which I love. And yeah, I just think that like he's kind of a symbol of the rest of that team, but obviously individually he's also great. But I feel like he's just one of those characters on that team who just does his job and does it well and is why they're winning. Like it's not all the Ja Morant show, even though it is mostly. But like he works hard. Their pick and rolls they're very reminiscent of like the Trae Young, like Hawks pick and rolls that were so devastating last season. Like it's just pick your poison. Do you want like Ja Morant dunking on you, or do you want like Jarrett Jackson dunking on you? I don't know. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Good.
I love it. Well, that's both of our starting fives. I just wanted to give an honorable shout out to the person that didn't make my cut but was close was Gary Payton II for the Warriors. Loving him.
Fair enough. Actually, there's a few people on that team who've been playing pretty well. Beliza, not one of them, but but yeah.
All right. Well, I wanted to jump into our underwhelming starting five. Now I know this one you struggled with a little bit, but don't worry, I've got some extras, so we can kick it off. But Thom, who was your first pick on the underwhelming starting five there?
My first pick is again hardly a hot take, but just someone who has been a train wreck ever since he came to this team, and I think like he's transcended the jokes and transcended the memes, and that is a feat in and of itself. And if you haven't worked it out by now, then I'll be surprised. But I'm talking, of course, about Russell Westbrook on $44.5 million to just put up like obscene numbers. I actually thought he was going to be okay in LA. He played not bad at Washington. And when they signed him, I thought, I actually think this will be a pretty good fit, but the man can't purchase a bucket. And I don't know how many times he's been on Shaq and a Fool, really. He gets blocked by the rim. He gets blocked by the backboard. I don't know if he like greases up his fingers before every game, but I'm almost sick of seeing him fumble it out of bounds or like just fumble it while dribbling. Elementary dribbling principles. I mean,
it's got to be heartbreaking being a Lakers fan when it's like it's a close game and you're within the final minute and a half,
Oh.
and he's dribbling the ball down the court. You must just be with your head in your hands, like,
I
hope he makes a pass to someone. That's all I hope happens here.
There was a time where he would pull up for like that mid-range, like padded, like mid-range jumper of his, and that was more or less money. And like I just see him pulling up for it all the time, and it's not cash. It's
not
far from it.
It has like a 30% chance of hitting anywhere on the backboard, you know, like it has like a 30% chance of going in and a 30% chance of hitting anywhere else if it even hits the backboard. Yeah, not good. And obviously he was on my list. That's not surprising.
Just as a quick side note, just before we go, I don't know if you saw the Kings. They played at the Kings yesterday, and they were relentless. Their media team, they had him on the billboard as like ice coldest player. Oh yeah, and then I think they played like ice baby every time he got the ball. It's just
getting bullied
tough
by the stadium team there. That's tough.
That is tough. Yeah.
All right. I want to see if you also had this person, also a point guard, on my underwhelming starting five, just because I think this team was kind of hoping to be like sort of there in the playoffs, and they'll be lucky to make the play-in. And that is the Trailblazers at large and Damian Lillard as the sort of scapegoat here.
Yeah, he wasn't on my list per se. I have like 3 other dudes, but definitely was the person I was considering for my 5th. I don't know what's happened to the Trailblazers. I mean, Dame, I feel like he's got decent. He's like 24 points, like average, which is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But like, I don't know what's happened to that team. You're right. They won't even make the play-in, maybe. And I don't know what's I don't even know what's happened. I don't know what the reason is.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's just weird. And it's like, I mean, they got a new coach, and they've just completely dropped out of the thing. So I don't know but yeah, just that general, like the team just kind of like feels defeated already.
So defeated, and it's halfway through the season, and like they made it to the conference finals in like 2018 or something. Like that's not that long ago. That's like the same rotations that they're using now, more or less. Quick shout out. Don't know why they ever gave up Seth Curry. They deserve to be this bad because they gave him up. So doesn't feature on any of my lists, but like, I mean, that's what you get.
Well, speaking of Seth Curry, I was actually thinking about this the other day as a trade. I was wondering if you'd take it. Would you trade Grayson Allen and George Hill for Seth Curry?
Probably not.
Okay.
And I do love Seth Curry. You know what? If you asked me that at the start of the season, I probably would have considered it, maybe taken it. But Grayson Allen has been pretty good. Oh. He deserved the extension. And the man was playing well actually today, especially in I think it was the 3rd quarter. He had a really nice like spin layup and hit a few threes. So not today, Jez, not today. But I would like more trade options for Seth Curry coming to Milwaukee because we need more three-point shooters. Yeah, please do. Come back to me. Yeah.
All right. Who's your next person on your list there?
Yeah, this was actually who I thought you were going to bring up because I feel like this team also put some hopes on him because they're definitely in that real rebuild vibe. And he had a lot of hype. Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
It's hard because he did have so much hype coming into the league. So I get that. And I did almost put Zion on this list because but that's another story. Sorry to say, but Cade Cunningham, I feel like not only has he not lived up to his hype, but he hasn't lived up to really anything. Like he had one good game like last week and that whole team is just a Chamblay. And even on a bad team, you think he'd be able to put up some decent numbers and he hasn't. And it's really weird. So quite disappointing, I think.
And the teams don't get much worse than the Detroit Pistons. So if you can't put up numbers there where you've got no one that can put up numbers, like, I don't know what you're going to do.
If you can't get numbers on a team that is like 3rd last, I mean, I think they're worse only by like the Magic and maybe the Pacers or something like that. So disappointing from him.
Well, on a similar vibe, I actually did have Zion. Because it's now getting disappointing. Because like when you look at Ja, who's the 2nd pick in that draft, and like kind of their basketball careers aren't close at all, you know.
Well, they were in the same conversation for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and now it's just he can't play.
It's really it's tough to see because he's so young and obviously he's incredible talent. but he just needs someone to pull him aside. He needs a good mentor, I think, someone to pull him aside and just be like, hey, mate, let's lay off the KFC or something like that. Let's just make a plan, and it sucks because like it's already halfway through the season basically. And has he played any games? Nah. Yeah. I can't see him coming back anytime soon. So that's just second year gone right that off, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. He's only on my underwhelming, not because he's a bad player, but just because it's like it's underwhelming because you'd hope by this point he would be like one of the main people in like the top 20 players in the NBA type conversation, and he's just not. Because he's just not playing.
Yeah, it sucks for him, and I don't think the Pelicans have done him any they haven't done him any goods, any justice. But yeah.
All right. So who else did you have on your list here, Tommy?
Yeah, so I've got this one guy, but again, it's kind of the whole team.
Yeah.
I've got Dennis Schroeder and the Celtics.
Yeah, I had the Celtics.
And it's not all his fault, to be fair, but I mean, they have been. I thought they were on the up for quite a few years there, especially 18, 19. They were playing well against the Bucks, beating the Bucks in a couple of playoff appearances. And everyone thought, yep, they're going up there. They're going to be it. And they've just plateaued so hard. And not even that, they've gone down. And Dennis Schroeder, I mean, I just thought I thought he'd be better fit for this team. But what I didn't account for is that they just will not give up on playing like ISO basketball. And
it's so disappointing.
Why do they keep doing it? Like, I don't know why. It's like, it just doesn't work. And like Tatum and Brown are incredible. Like they're both so good and they just consistently, they just can't come up with dubs. So yeah, Schroeder, I think he has individually sucked. The Celtics have sucked as a whole, but he specifically keeps taking insanely deep threes and complaining every time he doesn't get a foul, which I'm just like so bored of watching that. So yeah.
And that team does kind of remind me like, they're just like, it reminds me of the Bucks when the Bucks were kind of like making one playoff thing and then just falling, where like when everything kind of breaks down, they just go to ISO again and it just isn't working,
And they're in this awkward sort of part of their like team journey where they're not really at rebuild. They have some pieces, but the pieces they're kind of like, there's always talks about trades. There's always talks of like, no, we've got a bit of a core here. I think bring back Al Horford, they sort of thought like, oh no, this will kind of settle things, but he's been kind of like a non-factor, I guess. So yeah, they're in that like kind of awkward, like can't go forward, can't go back. And I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. No one also, I don't know. I can't imagine there'd be players who want to go there. You know what I mean? Like they don't have that like bright future, even though they have good players. They don't have that like excitement. Whereas teams like Memphis, like players would want to go there, even like the Hawks, even though they aren't playing that good at the moment. Like that's still a team that like you could entice someone to come there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. There's just a weird sort of stink to the Celtics at the moment where you just it's sort of like the Blazers where something's wrong and it's just obvious from when you watch them play. But you did just bring this team up and I want to talk about it. And I'm going to use this player, which is Clint Capella and the Hawks, as a disappointing team this season, and it's just because they can't play defense.
Yeah, it's really weird. I thought I actually almost put down Collins on this team because I felt like everyone was hyping him up in the playoffs last year, and he's just kind of it sucks because Trae Young's putting up insane numbers as usual, but they just feels like empty calories, feels like a waste. And I don't know why they can't play defense when they did play good defense like last year. It's the same team too. I don't know what happened.
Because like what's interesting is it's like there was the Hawks 2 seasons ago, which was like this Hawks team, where it's like Trae Young and nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden last year they were really good. It's like this weird spike. But if you think about the seasons before that, the Hawks have just been this team. It's just weirdly last year they were so good and it was so fun.
And so good to, and again, like what I said before, that pick and roll, Capella and Trae was just unstoppable. And it was like they discovered the pick and roll or something like that. And now it's just, it doesn't really matter how many points they score because they're just getting schooled on the other end.
So have you done all your underwhelmings?
I have one more. I have, again, a player, but it is indicative of a team very similar to the Knicks. So they're kind of in like sorry, to the Hawks. I just gave it away. It's the Knicks.
Yeah.
They're in the exact same like band as like the Hawks and the Celtics, where they can't go forward, they can't go back. And I feel like the person I had was Kemba. He has been done a little dirty, I think, by Thibs. But it's like just so underwhelming in all regards. They've like modeled themselves as like we're a defense first team, but they just, I don't know, it's just not working. And again, it's kind of like what you said. Your diagnosis for the Hawks is the exact same for this team, where like they're the same as what they've been every year that wasn't last year. Like they played pretty good last year. Were the favorites to beat the Hawks and then didn't, which was really weird. And now this year it's like they're getting steamrolled by like everyone who comes into Madison Square Garden.
They like can't play offense anymore or something. Like something's broken with their offense now.
Yeah, I think it's just they keep taking really low percentage shots, which they did last year, but they kept going in. And so it's kind of like, well, let's keep doing that. But yeah, poor Kemba. I mean, he's kind of been done dirty, but he's also he's just not been good enough, I think, to justify being a consistent starter or even off the bench, to be honest. But yeah, still like D Rose there.
Yeah, same.
I want to, and I feel like he's still playing well. So there's hope for that team. I reckon they could do a play-in situation. There could be something there, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, my last person, so I've done 5 underwhelming, but I had this sort of 6th man here.
Yeah, the 6th man.
Underwhelming, and this is someone that's not even in the NBA, and that's why it's underwhelming. Jeremy Lin's agent. How is that man not getting minutes on a team like when like the Detroit Pistons are completely out of players? Why isn't Lin getting brought over from China just for some Lin sanity action?
Exactly. I mean, especially when now's the time. I mean,
everyone's saying
now like 10-day contracts are like flying out the door. It is begging for a 10-day Lin sanity. I mean, I have no idea. And on the back of that as well, if we're bashing agents, Ben Simmons agents. I mean, if there is a time to just go, hey, just give him 10 days. Yeah. Just give him 10 days, see what happens. Now's the time. But the man, I mean, so much so people have just stopped talking about Ben Simmons. They're like, he's not playing. Yeah, we're not even talking about that. And I mean, I don't know where he goes from. Like, there's been so many times where it's like, oh, well, this team or that team, this opportunity. And now it's just like, mate, if you're not getting 10 days, if people who I don't even know their names, and I'm hardly an encyclopedia for the NBA, but like dudes who are just getting brought up from the G League to play for 10 days and not even Ben Simmons is getting contracts, like, I mean, get a new agent, bro.
Agreed. Well, that's been the main part of the chat that I wanted to have. But speaking of agents, Tom, I wanted to throw this. So I did this section with an episode last time where I made you the agent of someone. You have to pitch this player to me, okay?
Okay.
You're the agent of this player. Sell me. I'm the GM.
Okay.
You want to get this guy a good contract.
Okay.
All right. So are you ready to go?
Not really, but let's go. Let's go.
So I want you to be Thanasis's agent here. Sell me. I'm a GM. I'm looking for someone to add to the team.
Okay.
I brought you in.
Okay. So here's what I love about Thanasis, and here's why he's an asset to any team. He has energy. If you have a look at any bench he's been on, obviously the Bucks only at this stage, he is always the one who's up, who's clapping. He is always like encouraging, even when the team's getting throttled, he's there and giving 110%. And so as someone who can thoroughly keep the bench activated and involved, get Thanasis on your team. The less said about his actual basketball game, the better at this stage. But I feel like he can really ignite like a bench like mob, and he can really like get the whole crowd involved. And I think he's worth that. As far as his actual basketball is concerned, he is good for a few fouls. He is good for a dunk every now and then. And fair cop, he does draw the odd offensive foul. You can't deny the man that. And I have seen him draw some very timely offensive fouls. He's kind of like a mosquito at night. You hear him buzzing around. He's annoying, gets the job done though, and you get bitten. So get bitten by the love of the narcissist. He deserves 10 days at least, and that's all I'm told.
I love
dear.
that a lot of the sale involved how good he is when he's not playing basketball.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, keeping the bench you can get a lot of work done from the sidelines, and he has a heavy workload. I'll put it that way.
A $3 million hype man.
I mean, does the job. He gets results.
That's it. Well, Thom Nixon, thank you so much for being on our first episode of 2022 Hoopatheticals. Great to have you back, man.
It's been a pleasure. The pleasure has all been mine.
All right. Until next time, everybody. You can always buy this name. Please send 5 figures minimum is what we're looking for. It's minimum. Hoopatheticals. It says everything that it is in the name. It's perfect.
How are they going to contact you, Jets?
However you contact anyone.
Okay.
Send it
there
through.
You go. All right. Send it through.
All right. Great. See you, dude.
All right. Peace.